Hello everyone, welcome back to Excel with Math Matt. This is going to be a new series I'm doing that's just going to be called Formulas because we're going to talk about each individual formula in its own video. I'm going to make it super short and it's going to be great. First formula we're going to talk about is sum. First I want to talk about kind of the way that you build formulas. First you're going to start with an equal sign and that determines that it is a formula. And then you're going to type in the name of the formula. There are a bunch of different ones in here. These are just the ones that start with S. So there are a ton. And we're going to start with sum. And then it asks you for number 1, number 2, and it has this dot, dot, dot. These are called arguments. Arguments are either required or optional when you're building a formula. Required arguments will look like this. They just have whatever it's called. In this case, it's number 1 is what it's called, and that's just the name of the argument. You don't really have to worry about why it's called that, but it's just there to kind of describe to you what you're supposed to put in these parentheses. As you can see here, number 2, it doesn't come up. See, number 1 I can actually click on. It doesn't do anything, but it gives me the ability to click on it. Number 2, it doesn't. It doesn't give me that ability to click on it. I can just click and move this around. But number 2 is in brackets. Arguments that are in brackets mean that they're optional. And so this formula is saying put at least one number in here and separate them by commas. So I'll just put one number in there. How about the number 1? This is a valid formula. And as you can see, when I hit enter, it moved me out of that cell and it put the sum of 1 in the cell, which is equal to 1. In order to edit the formula, I can double click on the cell and it'll allow me to edit the formula, and I can put other things in here if I want to put a comma 2. Now it's showing that the number 2 is where I'm at, and so that one is now clickable. It looks like it's clickable, but it's actually just going to take me to that spot, right, when I click on it. And number 3 is now also optional. As you can see, number 2 is still optional, but it's at least showing that I've designated there are 2 numbers, right? And so I can close this and hit equals or enter, and it will move me down, and now it's summing 1 and 2. The great thing about formulas is that you don't have to put numbers in there. You can put what's called a reference. A reference would be like a cell. So if I put 1 and 2 here, then I can go in here and actually put in the reference cell A1. And then if I wanted to sum it, I could do A2. And then it would add 1 and 2 together because those are the 2 numbers that I selected. So as I just did there, you can type in the reference, or you can actually, Excel allows you to click on a cell if you're editing down here. The other way to edit actually is if you're out of there, you can click on the cell and then click up here in the formula bar. The reason this is, in my perspective, not as good is because if you click away, it doesn't allow you to actually click on things in most cases. Oh, let me see. Yeah, it does. And so you can actually edit it up here, or you can edit it down in the actual cell itself. So that would be one way to enter arguments. For something like a sum, you're actually allowed to enter a range. The difference between a cell and a range is that a range is a collection of cells. So that, what I've selected there, is a range, and the range is F4 to F17. And the reason that this is a range is because it includes all of the cells within the F4 to F17 range. So it's giving me all of these. If I'd like to select A1 and A2, it says the range from A1 to A2. And then I could select A1, A2, and A3, and it'll say the range from A1 to A3. If I close the parentheses and hit enter, then sums A1 to A3. Now let's talk about why you would want to do it by reference as opposed to just typing in the numbers. Well, what's great about doing a formula by reference is that you can actually change what these cells are, and the formula itself will change because it's grabbing the reference and it's not grabbing the actual number. And so because this formula is telling me A1 to A3, I now am able to change these numbers, and it will affect the outcome of that sum. And so that is why referencing cells in a formula is different than just putting in a number. If I were to put in a number, it wouldn't change unless I went into the formula and changed the number. So that is a basic breakdown of not only formulas, but also the formula for sum. It gives you the sum of whatever you're adding together. And so if I select a range, it will add that range together and output it into the cell. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, just finished recording the sum video for functions, and I wanted to go over a few more functions that are pretty self-explanatory. This is the average function. It is just equals average, and then you would type in your arguments here. Again, you can type in a range if you'd like, or you can just type in concrete numbers, and it will give you the average, which is the sum of the numbers divided by the total number of numbers. Here we have the product, does the same thing as sum, except instead of adding, you're multiplying the numbers. Then we have median. The median is just the middle number. It basically just takes the total number of numbers, divides it by 2 to find the middle, and then gives you that number. And if there are 2 middle numbers, it takes the average. And then the standard deviation. Standard deviation is, again, just a statistical property that you would want to use if you were ever looking at big amounts of data, or you wanted to find, it's basically a type of variance of the data. I'm not going to totally explain it. If you want to look into standard deviation, you can do that. And then the last one that I wanted to include here was count. Count counts the number of values in a range. And so if I put 1, 2, 3 in here, it is going to tell me 3 because I have entered 3 values. If I just put 1, 1, 1 in here, it will give me 3 again because it's counting the number of values. And so these are all very good formulas that you can use, and they kind of go along with sum in the sense that they're very simple formulas that most people can grasp the concept of, and they're very self-explanatory when it comes to entering the arguments or entering the references that you have to get those data values to show up. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.